Alright everyone, so in this session we are going to be correcting our lab. So recent, this is what actually we had to do, which is kind of like a project also. We are kind of creating this hire.me landing page. And the first thing we need to understand from here is that we need to be able to break down the project into different scopes. When I talk about the scope, the first thing we need to understand here is that this, and this would be treated as one container, which means we have a box that contains the logo, contains the navigation elements, and it contains the sign up and the sign in buttons. Then now we are going to have this section here that contains the text together with the input search, and then we have this image here. Then now we have this other element at this section here where we can actually click to either go to Facebook, Twitter, or Instagram. Then now we have this section under here that simply shows like the companies that we have actually worked with, which is kind of Microsoft, Airbnb, Google, Facebook, and Vidant Health. So that is actually the outline. So we are going to proceed to actually setting the development environment. And in order to set up the development environment, first we are going to kind of switch over to our VS Code. So in VS Code here, I'm going to create a folder, and the folder here will actually be the folder where we are going to be coding. So as I said, we are going to be creating a folder. So we come here, we look for, we're going to create a folder called projects. So let me just call it not in apps. I want to create a folder here. So I'll call the folder, let's say lab/pr, which stands for project. Then in my terminal, I'm going to access, so I'll just type code lab/pr, for instance, and you kind of open that particular folder in VS Code. So this is the folder. So we're going to be kind of implementing whatever thing we're doing inside of this folder. I'm just going to minimize this guy, and yeah, what we have on the screen will be the design, and we're also going to have where we are also coding. And if I come here, this is actually where we are writing our code. Now inside of here, we already know the structure of writing each and every HTML and CSS file. So we have to create first our index.html. So we're going to create, sorry about that, let me delete this. We are going to create our index.html. And we are also going to create our style.css. So we are also going to create this style.css. And alright, so these are the two files, index.html and style.css. We are going to create a folder called the img, which is for the images, or we can call it the src, which is we kind of host the source files like the images and the others. So that's actually what we are going to do. So in here we have the source. In the source folder, we just want to download all our images into the source folder. So I'll simply go back to our Figma file, which is this. And the first image I want to download is this image here. So I select the image and I scroll down here and I click export. So I click on export, I scroll down again and I click on export frame 10, for instance. And I'm going to wait for it to kind of load to the export view where I have to see where I'm exporting the frame to. So in here, we want to go to that particular folder where we are exporting the frame. So we go to this, I think it's in coding projects, if I'm not mistaken, not coding projects, sorry. It is inside of Crest Lansing, and if you go to I think it should be lab/pr, so we look for lab/pr src. We change the name to hero image, something like this, and we save. Now the next one we want to kind of extract will be the hire me logo. So we select the hire me logo, export, scroll down, export again, and we wait for it to load. So here we just rename it as logo and we click on save. The next thing we want to export Microsoft. Now I can just export everybody as one, but since we might be making it responsive, we want each image to have its own view. So we are going to just select this, we go to export image, export, and we are just going to export it as the way it is. So maybe I'll just rename it to Microsoft. I click on save. Same for Airbnb, export. I think I can just export all of them at once. So I select everybody, export 4 layers, and I'll just export everybody at once. So Airbnb logo detail, yeah, we just save everybody at once. I think this is it about the things we have to export. We can also export these ones here if we wish to export them. But the first thing, I just want to group them, so I'll go to frame selection. Same here, zoom in a bit, right click, frame selection. I also do the same thing here, right click, frame selection, and we have this. So I can just export everybody. So I'll select everybody, I'll scroll down, export, and I export 3 layers. So I'm exporting everybody as a group. This is just like me trying to set up everything I will need while working. So I'll just click on save, and then it is saved. Now if you go back to our project directories, we are going to see that we have all the images intact. So all the images intact, and we also have our files that we are going to be working with. Now I just want to go in over to my index.html and also the style.css. I want to make them side by side, so I have the style this way and I have the index page this way. So I will generate my pre-random text by pressing shift 1. So we have this. Let me zoom in so that you guys can see what I'm kind of working on. So I come here and I increase this to about 20, and I go back. So this should be more visible now, our index.html page. So we have this. So the first thing we need to do is to be able to structure what we have. So we are kind of structuring everything inside of our body, and in our body we want to be able to have this particular structure here. So we have the nav, which is the navigation bar. Now we are going to have a container that hosts this section and this section here. This one here, we are going to give it a fixed or an absolute position so that we can kind of position it where it is. Then this one here will just be a section beneath. I'll try to make this as fast as possible. So firstly, we have to come over here and we create a header. So we create the header, and in the header we are going to create the logo. So with the logo is an image. So img, we have to just take dot slash. We are going to our src and we are picking the logo.png. alt, we can simply say fail to load logo, something like this. Then now we go to the next section, which will be the navigation element. We have to store it in the nav. And in our nav here, what we actually want to do here is simply we want anchor tags, and we want like let's say we want 5 of them. I'll just break them to go down to the next line, next line, next line, next line. If we go back to the design, we'll have home, career advice, jobs, and resume builder. So home, career advice. So this one here is home, career advice, jobs, and we have resume builder. So this is what we have. We get rid of the last one. The next thing we have here will be a section called, so we are going to be creating a div called btn, or we are going to create a button called btn, for instance, and it will host buttons. So we are having 2 buttons here. So I'll create 2 buttons, multiply by 2, and we have 2 buttons. So the first button here will be sign up, and the next one will be sign in. So we have 2. We are going to give this one a class of btn stroke sec, which means secondary. We are going to give this one a class of btn stroke pr, which stands for primary. Now we are done with that section. Now what we want to do is just to style, and we see what we have done so far. If I open what we are doing with Lifesaver, you are going to see what we have done so far. So this is actually what we have done. So this is the rough thing we have. So we want to kind of make it. Now the first thing we will do is that we come to our CSS, we call the body. We start by giving the body some pre-styles. So we have to give the body a background color of red. Save, and then we link our CSS here. So we use the link tag, we choose CSS, and we are linking to the style.css, and if it actually does link, then our background should be red. Okay. Now since the CSS is working properly, now we are going to go back. Now what we are doing here is simple. We want to give it a margin of 0, so margin should be 0. Next, our padding should be 0. And the next thing we want to do here is that we might change the font family, but not now. So we simply want to give it a width of 100%, And after giving a width of 100%, we are not giving any height. We want to give align items to the center. We want to justify the content to the center. Now the next thing we want to do here is the header. So we are going to call the header. And in the header here, what we want to do is to give the header like a width. So the width of the header here should be around, let's say, 90%. So it should not kind of span across everything. Then the next thing we want to give is the height. So we are going to give it a height of about 80 pixels. The next thing we want to do is to give it a display of flex. We align items to the center and we justify content to be spaced between. Now, I did not give this display flex, so I'll just go up and give it also display flex. Now let's see what we have so far. If I come to the output, this is what we have. So what we need to do now is just to style the piece and also to style this. So how can we do that? The next thing we want to do here is that we want to style the nav anchor tags. And here we simply want to give it a text decoration of none. Color should be black. And also the font size can be 1.2 rem. And we want to give it a margin of about 12 pixels and we save. So this is what we have so far. Now we can increase the font size from 1.2 rems to about 1.6 rem. Alright, font size. I think 1.6 rem will be too big, so let's go take it back to 1.2 rems. So this is what we have. Now we need to make this guy bolded and also colored. So we are going to target that particular element. So what I'll do here simply is I'll target the nav anchor element is to first type or to first element. And what we want to do here is simply to give it a color of blue, for instance. Let's just use blue. I don't want to go and start copying colors. So it should work, and it didn't work. So nav A is to first. Okay. I think I need to remove this. It still did not work. Let's see. Alright, it worked now. You can also make it bolded, so font width should be bolder. And we come here. Now we have something like this. So just this and we are done with the navigation bar. So what I want to do here is I want to style the button primary. Don't forget we have the button secondary and the button primary. So here we have to call the .btn. This is a class, so we put .btn. So .btn stroke sc. What we want to do here is simply first we want to give it a border. There should be no border, so border none. Next, we want to give it background color transparent, and we want to give it text color to be black, something like this. And then for the other one, .btn stroke PR, which is primary, we want to give it a background color blue, for instance. Our color, which is the text color, should be white. Next, we want to give it border none. We want to give it border radius of about 12 pixels and we save. So in here we are going to see we have something like this. Now we need to actually have to mingle with the height. So here we can give it a height of about, let's say, 50 pixels, and we can give it a width of about 100 pixels. I think that will be okay. I come back here and we have something like this. We can both give them margin. So this guy here will have margin of about 12 pixels. And we can duplicate the same. And we give this other guy here. So we have the same. So here you can now see we have the button, we have this, and we have the logo. So we have done with actually the navigation bar. You see, it took us quite a shorter time to actually do it. So we are going to continue with the next section. So if I come here now, we are going to see that the next section we have here is this heading, this paragraph, this search bar, and we have now this section. So that is what we are going to be actually implementing at this point. So we are going to create a container that will host this entire section. Then in the section we have to have a div for the left and a div for the right, or just the image. Then now we are going to place the elements inside. So how do we do that? So we'll go back to our development environment. After the header, we are going to create a div called a container, and a div called container. In here we want to create another div called the left, for instance, and here we have h1. I'll just go back to the design and copy the text. So here I'll just select the text and copy. I go back to the design and I paste it here. Next I want to go back here to the paragraph, and I just go back to the design still and I copy the paragraph, create a paragraph with a p tag. I copy the paragraph from here and we put it here. Next we have this section. Now I'm going to use some knowledge to actually create that search bar. Now the first thing here is, most often you have to design or work with experience. The search button and the input search is kind of linked, so I'm going to put them inside of like some sort of a div, and the div will be used to control the structure of the two guys. So here what I'm going to do is simple. I'm going to create a div and I'll just call dot search. So this div is called search, since we have the search input field inside. In here we are going to have an input, or we could even create a form, search or anything. So I'm going to have an input of type text, and we have a placeholder, search, this, so we just do this. Then after that, we just have to add a button. Now we are going to add a button which is primary, the same like the other one we saw. So we have to create button dot btn stroke pr, which stands for primary, and here we just write search. And we could even add the search icon there. I will not be adding it, so I just save. And then the next thing we want to do is, after this div, we want to add the other image. So img, we are adding the hero image, so we put dot slash, we go to src, and we look for the hero image, which is actually this image. Yeah, we can put the alt to be failed to load hero image, something like this. And yeah, we go down. Now the next thing we want to do is to style it. So if I save and I come back to the view, you're going to see that it has actually distorted. Now the first thing that happened is because we are using flex, we have not specified the flex direction. So we go back to our body here and we specify the flex direction to the column. After that, I think there will be some few adjustments. Now we need to style the container. So we come back here, we want to style this container class, this one here. So I come here, container is a class, dot the class name. Here we want to give it a width of, let's say 90%. And we want to give it a display, flex, align items to the center, justify content, space between. Now we have to come back inside the left and we style the left. The left should have width of 50%. So the left, which is the left section that contains the content, the width should be 50% of the entire container. The height should be auto, and I think this display still can be flex, I think, but let's just leave this one for now. Now we go to the image. We are going to give this image a class here called hero. So we are going to give image class hero .hero. We want to give it a width of the image of 50%. If you have been following all through, I've told you guys that once you give an image a width, don't give the image a height, because you are going to distort the image. So width should be 50%, and this one here, I think 100, 50, yeah, 50%, yeah. So if we come back here, we have something like this. So we are actually already getting close to like the actual design view that we have. My monitor is quite big, that is why you can see it kind of expanding the way it is. So you see that this section is already kind of coming to place. But the first thing we need to do here is that we need to fix this search bar. So we actually need to fix this. So what we need to do here is simple. This is the div. So we go to the dot search. And in dot search, we want to give it a width. Now we are going to measure the width in percentages. So we want to give it a width of about, let's say, 80%. We want to give it a height of about 50 pixels. We want to give it borders, solid, maybe black or blue or anything. Yeah. And then now the next thing we want to do here is that we want to go to that input field. So we want to go to the search input field. Let me just type the input at once. We want to give it a height of about 100%. And we want to give the width. Now the width should be calculated. So we want to calculate the width to be 100% minus, not 50 pixels. Now if you go back to the button, which is the primary button, we are giving the primary button here a width of 100 pixels. So we want to calculate and subtract 100 pixels from there. So we say calculate 100% minus 100 pixels. If we come back here, we are going to see what we have. So if I come back to the view, this is what we actually do have. Now this section here should actually be the section where the search button is supposed to be. But we actually gave that button margin. That is why it is being pulled down. Now we actually want to kind of cancel out the margin. So instead of saying minus, let's say 100 pixels, we are going to say minus 100, and let's say 130 pixels. I think they should now fit in the same box. Let me say 200. I'm just trying to use math to compute this. Now we have something like this, okay, but still it is not quite. So what I'm going to do here is that this button primary, I'm just going to call it BTNPR, which stands for search. And I'll just copy this, Control C, come here and I'll style it. So I'll just go up to the style for the button, which is this button primary. I'll copy everything, but I'll remove the margin from there. Control C, I go down, I put it here. Where we have margin, I'm going to get rid of the margin. And then here I'll save here, and here I'll save here. Let's actually see what we have. So we have something like this. Now instead of minusing here 200 pixels, we are going to minus now 100 pixels. So that there's no margin applying to this already. And we still have it showing this way. Now we go back to our search, which is this. I'm going to give it a display, flex, align items to the center, justify content, space between, and I save. We have something like this. The next thing you want to do is to actually give it a background. But we go to the input field. Now something is lacking. Our border should be known. And also we have to style it on focus. So we have to copy this here, go down and paste it. So on focus. So when this is on focus, border still should be known. And yeah, even on active state. So I'll just duplicate it down. Also change focus to active, will be the same. So borders should not be there. Now the next thing you want to do here is that on this div, which is this one here, I think it is the search, this one, you want to give it border radius, not borders, border radius of about 12 pixels, and then we want to give, now let me save and then I'll explain what overflow hidden will do. So here you discover that the border radius kind of does not really show. Now we have to change the background. If I go back to the design, I'll see, I think there's kind of a background here. Just copy that particular background color, which is this. So I'll copy this background color, 10%. Let me pick the color itself. So I take this and I pick this color. Then I'll copy this one, Control C, I'll go back there. So I'll give it a background color. It should be hashtag the color we have just copied. Control Z.
come back here, know the design, Control C, minimize, Control V, save, then we come back.
Now we are going to add overflow hidden
to add
any overflowing corners. So overflow should be hidden.
Control S, and yeah,
I think we have this. Although we still have something like this because the search bar is still on focus, but I think we have something like this. Yeah. Okay. Then we go to the input field and we give it kind of like a padding of 5 pixels. Alright, we give it a padding of 12 pixels. I just want to push this input field to kind of come inside. So we have something like this. So this is how our search bar is. So we have this. Now I can increase the font size of the H1.
So I just go down here and I put dot.
Sorry, not dot. I just put H1 and I say font size of H1 should be around let's say 32 pixels. Let me see if
that's big. It's still small, so we can take it to 64. Okay, we have something like this.
Find a job that suits you. We have this section here, which is the paragraph. Then we have the search field here. So we have this image. So you can see we already have something that is kind of looking close to the design that we have. So this is our design.
Don't forget, we started from here
and we are heading to actually having the other one. Now before we create this section here, let us complete the section beneath. Now I have to copy the background of the entire page because I see the page has its own background color. So I need to copy that particular background color, which is this.
And I'll
Go to the body. So I'll go to the body, right up to the body. This is the body here. We are going to give it a background color. Hashtag. We paste. Now, if we come back here, we are going to have the whole body having that particular color. Now, the next thing we want to do is to create a section beneath. So in the section beneath, we have to create a div. So this one here, we just create a div dot. So we want to call this section maybe trusted. And in the trusted, we just have images. So we have img, like they are kind of 4. So I'll put dot slash. I'll go to src. I think the first one will be Microsoft. I'll just have to duplicate this line like 4 times. The next one will be slash. I don't know which of the frame it is. Airbnb slash. Alright, let me just put the same images and save. So we come here, we have this. You can change the images. I'm just using the same images because it's like I don't see all the images. So I'm going to style this particular section here. As you can see, I'm going to style the section. So I'm going to come back here. Now I'm going to call the trusted. So here, now the trusted here, I want to give it a background color of white. Next, you want to give it borders, radius of about 24 pixels. You want to give it display of flex, align items, center, justify content, space between. We want to give it a width of about 90%. And we want to give it a height. No, we just want to give it padding of about let's say a padding of about 64 pixels, and we save. So here is what we have. The padding cannot really work that much.
Okay, I double use pixels,
so I need to clear 2.
and then here, yeah, I think we have something like this. In that instance, now we need to be able to change this height to about 18. So if we do to 80,
so that we have something like this. So we have this section. As simple as that, the section is already done. But the next thing we want to do now is to add just the tabs, the navigation tabs, those link stuff.
And we are done.
So what we need to do here is simple. We just want to come back here. Now we are going to create a section. Not like actually, we can actually put them in a section here. So we are going to call this dot fixed. But these are the fixed elements. So call them dot fixed. And the dot fixed element you have img. So we have the dot slash. We go to the src folder,
and the first frame is this.
I'll just duplicate this twice, and then we go to the next one, which is
dot slash frame 12. The same thing. Dot slash we go
to frame 13.
I think we save.
Now if I save and I come back here, we are going to discover that we have
them here. So this is it. So we just
want to be able to kind of display them in the horizontal form,
and then we push them to that corner, which is actually
something easy.
We are going to do.
Now we go to our CSS here. I'm going to call the dot fixed. In the dot fixed, so in our fixed here, what we want to do here first is that we need to change the orientation. So we are going to use display flex, then we change the flex direction to be. That is all we need to do. If I come back here, the orientation has changed. Now we need to move it to this corner here. So all we need to do now is to give it a position fixed. So we say position
should be fixed. We want to
give the left, the right
of about
let's say our right should be 10%,
and
our top
should be
about 30%. We save, and then I think that is all. So we have something like this. Now we can push it a little bit that way. So we reduce 10% to about 5%.
And yeah, I think this should be 50%, not 5. So let me change it to 5%. And we have this.
So you could actually make this navigation that you can click and it takes you somewhere. I can still reduce this 5%
to about 2%. And I think, that position fits. So this is
actually the design, and let me know if this
is really that difficult. Yeah, this is it. So if you
go back to our design, this is what we have, and you go back to the implemented version, this is what we have. So this is how you can transform your design into code, which could actually be deployed online and viewed. I think one of the tutorials I'm going to do is to actually make this mobile responsive, adding JavaScript to this and making it mobile responsive. If this video helped you, don't forget to follow, like, share, comment, and subscribe to the channel for more of such content. Catch you guys on the next one. Peace out.